Ladies and gentlemen, we're running down the hill. Look at all this area that we've cleared off, man. This is impressive.
Yeah, like loading in, the game is trying to like reload all the damage we've done to the environment. Because running down the hill, all of this was green and covered in trees, and then as I run down here, the trees start vanishing and being replaced by dirt and buildings.
Oh, is it taking yours is not refreshing as quickly? Yes, it's all good on mine. Excuse me. Oh, man. That's right. We're going to replant all that so we can feel good about ourselves. Do you want to do some more tree cutting tonight? I mean, that's what the game's all about, isn't it?
This whole area is just kind of like trash trees right up until over here.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like maybe we should
clear some of that out first.
Yeah, let's convert this thing back to not this cutter thing.
Okay.
And get that mulcher head for it, and we'll just stick it to the tops of the trees and start grinding them down to the ground.
Okay.
And just clear out this whole junk area.
Are you able to do that, or do you need me to do it?
I don't know.
Try it.
Sure.
I got
See
a couple.
if I'm part of your farm.
Yeah, join the farm.
Where is the farm? There it is. Oh, I'm already in the farm. All right, good.
We are family. I got Mr. Kyle and me. Hey.
Oh, hey. That thing can actually like swing around and make turning a little bit of a pain.
Oh, did you almost knock yourself over?
Yeah. Because I started driving forward and it just immediately turned, and that thing swings out and it starts dragging it forward. It's like I'm driving around with a bell. This thing. Ding, ding,
I've got a cuppa.
You know why they call them British? Because they drank all the tea.
They drank all the tea. Would you like a cup? One lump of tea. My wife, she thinks it's sacrilege to have sugar in your tea. She's like, what? I'm like, I'm having sugar in my tea. She's like, oh.
I don't know. I've seen some weird stuff end up in tea.
And she does not like Earl Grey. I'm like, isn't Earl Grey what English people drink? And she's like, no. We've been misled.
Picard drinks.
I know we've been misled. He's French, though. That would explain it.
Earl Grey hot.
That's right. Oh, Lord. Jean-Luc. The sex symbol of the 90s.
Let's customize.
I'm so sad that they took it off Amazon and now you have to have that stupid Paramount membership to see them.
Yeah, that's why I'm not seeing a lot of shows. Like everyone's
yeah,
like, you
that's
gotta
why
see
I'm
the
feeling
new
like,
Picard
okay,
show.
I already paid for the service. Screw you. I'm not paying again.
Someone added up all the subscription services and found out that if you had every single subscription service would cost more than basic cable.
Right. Oh, sure. Probably tons more.
They're like, well, you get the benefit of having things on demand and tons of crap I never asked for.
Right. It's the same. And it's kind of, yeah, at least in some ways it's better than cable because you do have like, choices, I guess. But like you can pick what you want, but it's I don't know. It was cool when it was like just like Netflix and, Amazon and maybe Disney. But now it's like, okay, if I want to watch Top Gear, I got to have Motor Trend. If I want to watch South Park, I got to have, HBO. If I want to watch any Disney or Star Wars or Pixar, I got to have Disney. It's like everything's just like every freaking different thing is anything that you like. It's in a different service. Star Wars or Star Trek. Got to have Paramount. Screw that, buddy. Dayton gets screwed again.
Until one of these goes. Which is it? There we go.
How much is that mulcher?
I rented it.
Okay. Can you rent it?
Yeah. Yeah. You lease everything in this game.
I didn't realize you could rent the attachments. That's funny. Well, that makes it way cheaper, probably. Yeah, there's some better trees over there, but there's not a lot. You're right. Oh.
Yeah, it's a lot of trash over here in the corner. Might as well just grind that down to nothing and get rid of it.
Someday we need to get the Pinroth. Because it has a wider mulcher. I'm sure there's a mod mulcher out there somewhere that's amazing.
Yeah, there is. There's one where it's a pull behind mulcher.
Ooh.
But it's like 80 feet wide and needs only like 80 horsepower.
Okay, I didn't mean like cheating awesome. Who are you, Tayloa? He's like, here's my... He always cracks me up. He's like, this is my harvester. It harvested 75 miles an hour and holds 800,000 units of grain. It takes 6 silos to empty. What was that?
I'm going to get over here to attack this tree.
Do it. I found that thing was a pain in the to use. That's why I'm using this one instead. But...
Oh, nope, not that one. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Look at this.
Is it working?
Yeah, look at that.
All right, hang on. I'll be over in a sec. I'm working my way around. All right, let's go see. I love this John Deere. I'm glad we got this. See, you... Okay. I was using it to clear the ground, too. That probably was more why I wasn't happy with it. That's really meant to just mulch those little trees, isn't it?
That's how I'm using it. Just stick it to the top of the tree and just go down.
Oh, Kyle. Douche. Ba-doom. Skadoosh.
Whoop. This, then like this. There we go.
I feel like we're shaving the map.
If I can just stick this to this part of the tree and just get
Too bad this doesn't make any money because it's actually pretty relaxing. Oh man, that tea is freaking hot. Oh. Burnt
Look at this.
I like the sound effects that go with it.
I fell off.
Should we shave it flat? Or should we just leave it like scrubbly?
I think we can leave it, scrub.
Just get rid of the big trees.
Yeah, just get rid of these trees that are gonna be in our way.
Like be a problem. Okay.
Oops. You know what they really need for these vehicles that, for the excavators and stuff? Is
What's
they need
that?
the wheel hole, the track and hole alignment thing like you get in tank games.
Right. Oh, you press like the C key and it automatically aligns.
Well, but if there was just an indicator on the screen that says where my tracks are going versus where the
Right.
rest of it is.
I mean, I'm pretty good at seeing it, but if you're playing from the inside, that's different.
This is a lot of fun. It's a shame it's a shame like it doesn't make like a giant sawdust pile that we can scoop up and shove into some factory somewhere.
Right, because in real life you'd have a lot of.
Man, look at that. Yeah, down to nothing.
So that's how you're supposed to use that thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's a tree eater. I mean, you can do the whole, let's see here, this thing, where you kind of use it like a giant broom.
Right. I mean, it works pretty well, too. Oh, look at this. Look what I uncovered. Stumpies.
Bullseye.
He's a smart one.
He's a smart feller.
Do you know who Bullseye is?
Let's see here.
He might be my all-time favorite Pixar character.
Who?
Bullseye. He's the horse from Toy Story.
Oh.
He's Jesse's horse. Or I guess he's Woody's horse.
Woody's Roundup. Mom got around.
He's the rootin'est, tootin'est cowboy in the wild, wild west. Woody's Roundup. Yeah, Toy Story. What a great movie. Toy Story 2. Man. Every single one of those movies made me cry. Every freaking one of them.
What they're supposed to do.
They just do a good job. I hate that. Stop it.
Stop being good at your job.
Oh, the one where they tried to bring their dad back from the dead. Onward. Oh God.
I never saw that one. I haven't been very impressed with recent Disney movies.
No, I know.
They're really leaning a little too much into the whole wokeness, which I don't mind some wokeness, but when you're beating me over the head with it, I immediately become not a fan.
I know. I know. Like, okay, enough. But no, I liked the old Pixar stuff. Up was amazing. That made me cry. Oh, Disney. Well, really Pixar, honestly. Now, Toy Story 3, not as much. I mean, there were some sad minutes in that, but what I thought was crazy, and I didn't, it's like I went to see it in the theater when it came out, and, I didn't get it, but, like, all these people were just, like, young people were bawling. And I'm like, wow, what on earth? And I asked a friend of mine who was younger, like in that same age group, I'm like, why was everybody crying at the movie? And he's like, we grew up with that. Like, because when I watched Toy Story, the original one, I was already in my 20s when it came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's like my generation, like that. We grew up with those characters, and so just knowing it's the last movie and it was kind of like a goodbye to everybody, like that was really hard to watch. I remember the end of The Lord of the Rings, the last one. I was like, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
I've never seen
I was sweating.
Lord of the Rings, like, in its entirety.
Really?
Yeah.
They're good. They're great.
And then
there's a little too much slow motion.
And then everyone's like, you're a terrorist if you've never seen all of the Lord of the Rings. And I was like, it's just not my thing.
No,
like, fantasy's interesting, but not enough to hold my attention for like 18 hours.
See, I grew up reading the books, so I like the movies. But I'll tell you what, the one place I didn't like, The Hobbit was terrible.
Yeah, I heard not great things about that.
Yeah, it was awful. There were some really good parts, but for the most part, I was like, please, I can't. I ended up falling asleep during the second one and not even bothering to go see the third one. I'm just like, I don't even really want to bother. It was, the second one was so bad that I was like, I can't handle any more of this. Like, it's hurting me spiritually. Like, just how bad this is. What a mismanagement of this wonderful story. But no, he did a real good job with it. The only thing my only complaint going back and watching Lord of the Rings is they used way too much bad slow motion. It wasn't like back, now we have GoPros that film, like 180 frames a second or whatever, and you can 240 frames a second, and you can slow things down and it looks really good,
Yeah.
Back then it was like, no, we're filming 24 frames a second and we're slowing that down. And it just looks really choppy and stupid and like over dramatized, and that's my only complaint. But if you do get a chance to see it, I don't know, watch the extended one, and plan on spending like a couple, like watch it like a TV series. Don't go at it like this is a movie, because it's 6 parts if you watch the extended. So it's worth watching like over a week. And that helps with some of the time issues too, because my other big issue with the movies, in any movie series, but especially in that one, is that you lose sense of like, okay, in the book, like a year or more is going by on parts of the book, and you just in the movie it seems like 10 seconds went by. They just don't do a good job, and that's hard to do. It is hard for authors to do the passage of time. But in the books, it's not quite so hard, because you got a really long journey and a lot of chapters. And he did another ingenious thing that's a no-no in authorship. When Tolkien wrote the books, he wrote pretty much like a huge chunk of one story, and then went back in time and then wrote someone else's story. Which, once again, that's a big literary no-no. But he did it, and it actually really worked well for the series. And helped with that passage of time thing. Do you like fantasy, or like Lord of the Rings, like Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of stuff?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Dungeons and Dragons, because I'm listening to an audiobook series called The 10 Realms.
Okay.
And it's people from Earth get teleported via something that Earthlings call the 2-week curse. And it teleports them to a realm that is based entirely on D&D.
That's so fun. There's so many of those books.
Well, it's a really good series, and it's 12 books long.
Okay.
So they don't, because, I guess the author was trying to put each realm into a book.
Okay.
But sometimes an event would just take entirely too long, and so he'd have to make that particular realm's books 2 books long. But
okay.
It's so good because it's two military veterans that get sucked into this world.
Okay.
And they end up making guns and stuff. They figure out how to make functional weapons in D&D, fully automatic guns, and then they work on rail guns.
Somebody was telling me about this. Maybe you were, but that sounds. I think my friend. I think the guy I work with, John, was telling me about that. See, now my son has a book that he just read called Dungeon Crawler, which is kind of the same idea. Aliens come to the planet and they end up a bunch of people die, and then they're like, hey, all you survivors, if you want to survive, you got to play our games, and they're dungeon crawling like Dungeons and Dragons games, but they have to play them in real life. And the guy's a vet. That's funny that you mentioned that he was a vet, because in this story he's a vet too. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
This audiobook series it's so good.
It's good.
And the guy doing the voices and stuff,
he's real good at doing it.
One of the guys is from the deep south.
Oh yeah.
And there's one. It's in, I think, the second book. They're trying to get into a place called the Blue Lotus so they can sell their stuff. And because they, like, you know, they're from Earth and they don't, you know, Earth has grown beyond that whole, you know, respect nobility thing.
Right.
But in the Ten Realms, being a noble is, you know, people worship the ground you walk on. But these guys don't care. They're in the military. Like, who cares? And so they're just going in, you know, talking and having a good time. And they cut in front of this noble, and he starts a big old kerfuffle about it. And Rugrat, he's got his bow out, and he's aiming it at this guy. And he's like, "You say one more word, I'm going to pin you to the wall like a freaking tapestry."
I like the, I do, it sounds like it's probably a pretty good series. You know, I'm trying to think of the other things. There was do you ever listen to Adventure Zone?
No.
That's
I mean,
a good.
I'm just now getting into like the audiobook thing.
Okay.
And I'm listening to the Ten Realms again because the first time I was like just like listening to it for the sake of listening to it.
Yeah, but now you're enjoying it. Yeah.
Now I'm listening for the details and all the little parts I missed.
Right. Because when you audiobook it, yeah. I just read. I don't really do audiobooks unless I'm driving. Then I do audiobooks.
That's pretty much how I do it. Is I listen on my way to work and on my way home from work.
Yep. It's not a bad thing. No, it's the Adventure Zone is worth listening to when you're done. It's a podcast, and what it is it's three brothers and their dad, and the guy that's the dungeon master actually writes like TV shows in Hollywood. I forget what his name is, but he writes like a whole bunch of different shows. And so he's a really good story writer. And so he's the dungeon master, and he comes up with the story, and then he and his dad and his brothers play through this adventure, and it takes about, I don't know, I want to say it's like probably 200 episodes. And they're silly at first, but then they really get into it, and it's really well done. It's worth listening to. And they're a pretty popular group. They have a bunch of other things that they do too. Like they have a podcast called My Brother and Me, which is super popular. And you know, they have like hundreds of thousands of listeners. But the Dungeons and Dragons, you know, Adventure Zone thing is really good. It's worth listening to. So if you get a chance when you're done with that series, if you like the Dungeons and Dragons stuff, it's worth listening to. I was never like super huge into Dungeons and Dragons as a kid. Mostly because it had, you know, in the 80s when I was growing up, it had such a bad stigmata to it. So like we just weren't even allowed to play it, you know what I mean? Like my mom was like, "No, you can't play that." So, but I had friends that played it. I remember also being negatively influenced. I had a friend who literally, I had a group of friends that would get together and play, and then they killed off his character because they didn't like him. And they didn't want him around anymore. And
That's rude.
I know, it was horrible. And I remember him crying and stuff, and I'm like, I just don't think this seems like it's a lot of fun. Like, I don't know. That seems really mean. But anyway, they you know, we did also play Marvel. So, you know, it was a similar thing. It was just using the Marvel universe. And then what was the other one? We played Car Wars, Mech Warrior. That's where Mech Warrior. I don't know if a lot of my viewing audience probably has heard of Mech Warrior, Armored Core, and stuff like that, like all these video games. But they are based on turn-based rolling the dice games, and Mech Warrior was one of those. It was a rolling the dice game.
Well, my introduction to Mech Warrior was Mech Warrior 2. And I played that game so much that to this day, I still remember that intro video.
Yep, I do too. I love Mech Warrior 2. I didn't play it a ton, but I liked it. We played it.
HQ to Alpha Sol, or HQ to any available units. We have mechs down at Nav Gamma. Bravo Cadets reports 3 subjects on site. Bandits are hostile. Repeat, bandits are hostile. HQ, this is Alpha Assault. I'm on my way. Bearing 029. And the little computer comes on. ETA 5 minutes.
And that was the graphics were pretty decent on that game.
I played on a Mac, so everything was in polygon potato mode.
Oh yeah, well, MechWarrior 2, on the PC, they were pretty decent. It was like, wow, look at that! Like it was pretty 3D. Those were the good old days. But yeah, so it's funny because that all came from rolling the dice. Car Wars never really. I guess that would be Twisted Metal from the PlayStation. Like that would have been what Car Wars became. But
I mean, I've been trying to get into the D&D thing, like actually like join like people playing a campaign. And it is easier to get an entry-level job than it is to join a
group
D&D
that has
community.
openings, right?
That D&D is so freaking gate-kept, and they're like, "Oh, we're super new person friendly," and then they're like, how many campaigns have you done? You have to have done at least 10. You have to have 3 references of people that have played D&D that recommend you. You have to have at least 5 characters." And I'm like, you said newbie friendly. Does it just mean new to the group and not just new to D&D in general? Because that's what I am.
That's ridiculous.
And every single newbie friendly group I find, they're all the same. They all want me to have stupid amounts of experience in playing the game since I was born. And it's impossible to join. And like,
that sucks.
Everyone's always going, "Oh, the D&D community's not that bad. And, you know, they don't gatekeep." And I'm like, are you kidding me? I've been trying for 10 years to join D&D.
It's that bad. Wow.
And every time I find a group, I have found one group that got close. We made a character. Never heard from them again.
Why?
I don't know. But they helped me make a character because we were going to do, you know, kind of one of these Discord campaigns.
Right.
And we made a character, you know, full character sheet. Into the wind they went.
That sucks. Yeah,
Like,
my friend Ben, I know he does it.
Nobody's on the Discord anymore. Like, and I was like, oh, cool. That was just a colossal waste of my time.
Right.
Glad I spent 2 weeks working with this guy to make a character.
Well,
just
at least
for
you
it
have
to
the
go
character now.
nowhere.
Don't lose
I don't
your
have the
character.
character. He has the data sheet.
Oh no. He's like, I'm going to keep this. This is copyrighted. You're like, listen, I don't have time for this. That is pretty funny that they're that bad about it. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it would probably be easier for me to get back into the military than it would be to join a D&D group.
Probably. That's funny and yet not.
It's a shame this thing doesn't do it as fast as the you see in the videos online.
What's
Where
that?
they stick the mulcher to
Oh,
the
they're
top
just
of
like,
the tree.
"Meow."
Yeah, and then they pull a lever, the thing just drops to the ground. You just see this explosion of sawdust. Just all the way to the bottom, and then it's gone. It's like the tree was never there.
What'd I do?
Uh-oh.
What's the matter?
I was going down a little too hard, and it pushed me off center.
I'm taking a ride with my best friend.
I think a fun mod for this game would be like how they would do in like all those Eastern European countries, where they'd take like a T-55 and turn it into a tractor.
That's one of my favorite tanks.
You just pull the turret off, weld a piece of steel over the hole, and then put a 3-point and a PTO on the back, and like, ta-da, tractor.
I'll tell you what, man. I know they're not like modern technology, but the T-55 is one of the best looking tanks I think ever made.
Well, they're back in war, so.
Got that round turret and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the teacup.
The teacup.
Yeah, but Russia's so far out of tanks that they're like pulling T-55s out of like museums and stuff.
Oh, jeez. I mean, I hate to say it, but in a way, it serves them right. You know what I mean? Hey, you wanted this. Here you go.
You made this omelet.
Yeah,
now we're going to crack your eggs.
Now they got Russian bears flying back towards the United States again. Ooh, 1950s bombers.
Oh, your turboprop airplane? Oh no.
Oh no. The threat is, I mean, it is not great because it is, you know, the threat is, well, we have bombs in this, you know what I mean? Like we have nuclear capabilities out of it. Because that's what those were. They were nuclear delivery systems. But
yeah, but if your plane can be taken out by a P-51, it's not much of a threat.
Oh, I just hope it doesn't come to, because, you know, if they get, I don't know, if we get involved, then China gets involved, and then it's going to be a big freaking mess.
Those trees we can keep.
And I'm not saying that
that
we might not beat them. I think we probably could, but do we really want to? That's the question. Is that a fight we really want?
Alright. Where's that tree? Oh, okay, we can cut down that one. Looking for some more trash hiding in the woods, but I think we're going to have to cut down a bunch of trees before we start grinding again.
Yep, but that's good. That's what we wanted to get to.
Alright, well, I'm going to go give this thing back.
Okay.
And turn it back into a tree cutter.
It's like seeing a T-Rex moving across the plains.
Dun 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 dun.
Once again, that was one of those movies, like, I thought it was going to be a kid's movie. I didn't really watch the previews, and to me, it just looked dumb. But my friend Tom insisted that we go see it. Like, no, dude, we got to go see it. I'm like, all right.
So I begrudgingly get bit in half.
I know. I begrudgingly went, and I'm like, dude, that was freaking amazing. Like, it was such a great movie. The other ones are good too, but that first one really was the best.
It's a clever girl.
Yeah, the Australian hunter. Clever girl. He's like, I've hunted most things that can eat you. You can tell these ones are working it out.
I'm sure they don't mind that I'm tearing up their parking lot with tracks. Sure, it's fine.
They're rubber. They're rubber tracks. Actually, on that, it's metal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pardon me.
All right. So it's.
Pardonnez-moi, s'il vous plaît.
Return that.
So this was a really fun week this week at work. It was like my coworker had bronchitis, so he had 1 half day this week and then was out the entire rest of the week. My boss, the network administrator, and the server administrator all had COVID, so they were all out all week. And then the pit director, the pit boss, the guy that's the lead technician or whatever, His daughter had the flu, and then he got it, so he was out for 4 days. So today was the only day that I wasn't in the office by myself all day. It was horrible. Because there's things to do, but there's not much to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't
Just
really
a bunch of pointless busy work.
It was horrible. It really was not my favorite week. Like, some people would like that, but I don't. I just want to I like doing my job. I actually have fun going out and trying to figure out computer problems and working on people's computers. That's, like, to me, that's enjoyable.
Kind of drove my dad insane, but that's just because he was dealing with teachers that, they started teaching before computers were a thing. Right. And now they're networked and, hey, Mr. Stewart, wow, I almost got hit by a train.
Whoa.
Yeah, like just as the tail end of this thing crosses the tracks, that train goes whizzing by at 100 miles an hour.
Take a deep breath.
But yeah, they'd be like, "Oh, my computer doesn't work," and he'd remote connect to their computer, and he'd be like, "You typed your password wrong." And then
no, we still get that.
Later.
Yeah, we definitely get that.
Then they come back later. I don't know what happened to my computer. It's not working right anymore. And he'd get on it, and he'd find out that they tried to open up like Safari like 800 times.
Oh, and it would all be locked because yeah.
Yeah, because it's trying to launch 800 different Safari windows. Because they just clicked the little Safari logo, because they don't understand how computers work. Just click on it and it'll load. Give it
right.
Give it a few seconds, and they just hammer that mouse button until something happens.
All right, before Kyle gets started, we're going to call this an episode. Look at all the work we did. We got all this cleared. Kyle used that shaver to shave the trees. That sounds wrong, but that's what we did. And so I'm going to get for the next episode, we're going to get the yarder set back up again and get the process underway. But this is looking good. Thank you very much, Kyle. You did a great job. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Thumbs up always help. Kyle, do you want to throw in a little hello, goodbye?
Later, everybody.
Later, Gator. Wait a minute. Is your name Mater too? Have a good night, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.